Good evening and welcome to CAN. I'm Emma Weber.
And I'm Rick Delott. Tonight we're focusing on Taught to be Tough, how aggression in males is the product of learned behavior.
Alexis Holgate is in the field tonight with our top story, with Albert Bandura, a noted psychologist, and his experiment on aggression in young males and the Bobo doll experiment.
And now we go to the field. Alexis, how are you doing out there?
Hi Rick, I'm doing great. I'm standing here with world-renowned psychologist Dr. Bandura to talk more about his experiment on Bobo dolls. So, can you tell us a little bit more?
The children were separated into two groups. The first group was just sit in a room and with the Bobo doll. The second group, however, was sat in the room with the Bobo doll, and an adult came in and would hit the Bobo doll. And as the adult left, the children would mimic their behavior completely.
So, what does that show us about the children's aggressive behavior?
It tells us that it can be learned, because the other group did not hit the Bobo doll. Shows that the adult being there demonstrating it means that it needed to be mimicked 100%.
Thank you for your time. I'm Alexis reporting for CAN. Back to you, Rick.
Thank you, Alexis. Today we've been talking about aggression in males, how they learn these traits and what influences them.
Alexis has been hard at work tracking down our next speaker. It should help clear up some of these problems. She's tracked them down all the way from Wall Street. Let's see if she's found them. Alexis?
Hey Rick, I'm here with a staff reporter from the Wall Street Journal, Sharon Bigley, to help shed some light on her article on how animals provide insights into human behavior.
Thanks for talking to me today, Alexis.
No problem. Happy to have you as our guest.
So today I'd like to quickly touch on how aggression is not only present in the human world, but it's also a very large part of the animal kingdom. There's a troop of forest baboons in the Kenyan Masai Reserve, and all the males in that troop were extremely aggressive. However, in 1982, they were completely wiped out by tuberculosis.
Wow.
This was studied by Robert Sapolsky, a professor at Stanford University, and when he went back, he saw that all of the aggressive males that had been wiped out, because they were all gone, the next generations were all very peaceful, and all the baboons were living in an extremely peaceful kingdom.
So what does that tell us about the aggression?
Well, what that shows us is that it's all completely learned and not evolutionary. If it were evolutionary based, then those baboons would have continued to be aggressive, but they weren't.
Wow. Thank you for your time, Sharon.
Thanks for talking to me.
You're welcome. Because today has touched on so many topics, we just wanted to take a moment to discuss aggression a little further.
What I've noticed from today's show is that aggression is a result of learned behavior.
You know, all we've been talking about today has reminded me about a book review I read pretty recently.
And what did the book report say?
Well, it was a review by Gary Culture of Martin D. Totten's Guys, Gangs, and Girlfriend Abuse, and Paul Keeble's Boys Will Be Men, Raising Our Boys for Courage, Caring, and Community. It was published in the Canadian Review of Sociology and Anthropology.
Really? And was it about learned violence?
It was. Keeble said that there's a complex series of contributing factors to young male youth violence, including pornography, racism, consumerism, drugs, and homophobia. And Totten agrees with him. He says that most of the causes of violence include patriarchal ideology, masculine identity, family, and male peer group and gang affiliations.
So does that include all forms of abuse, such in a family setting?
Yes, definitely. Totten does a study that shows that males who are raised in a situation where their mothers or themselves are beaten are far more likely to beat their girlfriends.
That reminds me of an article that I once read from the Annual Review of Anthropology. It was titled Urban Violence and Street Gangs, written by James Diego Vigil. He came up with a lot of interesting points on aggression in young males.
Such as?
He said for the last couple of decades, either subculture of violence or routine activities is an explanation for the reasons why males are aggressive. What can be taken from this is that males learn how to behave from their environment and from the situations they place themselves in.
That's very true. And in 1935, Margaret Mead, who was an anthropologist, wrote a book entitled Sex and Temperament in the Three Primitive Societies, where she argued that differences between men and women are largely the result of social learning.
So what else did she find out from doing her studies?
Well, I think it's best said with a quote from her. She said, "We are forced to conclude that human nature is almost unbelievably malleable, responding accurately and contrastingly to contrasting cultural conditions. The differences between individuals who are members of different cultures, like the differences between individuals within a culture, are almost entirely to be laid out in conditioning, especially during the early childhood years. And the form of this conditioning is culturally determined."
You know, that's very interesting. The culture itself is defined in the essence of anthropology as the often unconscious standards by which societies, being structured groups of people, operate. These standards are socially learned rather than acquired through biological inheritance.
It sounds like Mead's observation supported the views of others in her field, that human behavior is largely the result of processing of socialization, by which generations learn the cultural beliefs and patterns of those that preceded them.
So males really are taught to be tough.
I believe so.
Apparently it is that way. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank my co-workers, Emma and Alexis,
Thank you.
and
Thanks, Rick.
most importantly, our viewers. This is CAN saying have a great night.
Have a great night, Canada.
There you go. Oh, that's good. That's great. That's good.
Hey Rick, I'm here with staff reporter for the Wall Street Journal, Sharon Bigley, to shed some light on her article on how animals influence... Hey Rick, I'm here with staff reporter, Sharon Bigley, from the Wall Street Journal, to get insight... Hey Rick,
You guys.
Crinkle, 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 crinkle.
Include patriarchal ideology, include patriarchal ideology, include patriarchal ideology, between male and men. Sorry, between men and women were largely the result of social learning.
Hi, well today we learned about...
Okay.
I go Zaggy? Luigi. Vigil.
Hey, Rick.
Because today has touched on so many interesting points, we wanted to dive...
Hey Rick. Hey. Yo. Masculine identity.
Get a good thing. Get a good thing. Get a good thing. Why is the world sideways? Why is the world sideways? Why is the world sideways?
Okay, that was terrible.
I mean, it's
I
not
mean,
good.
moments are good and moments are shit. How do I stop it? Red button.
Wrap.
Awesome.
Well done.